Hey, this is Drew Bennett from Big Damn Kid, and I have issue number 36 of the Transformers. It is the introduction of Lynx, and we still have those 4 kids from the last issue. They're hanging around. They are now out in space. This issue is called Space Hikers. It's kind of a dumb name, I think. And it shows Lynx come through a warp. And so he's come through a warp. He's now in Earth's solar system. And he's saying that, coming through a warp has re-energized him. He feels like, a million years younger. And so he identifies, yep, this is the place where he is supposed to be. It's better than the place where he just left, which was Cybertron. And on Cybertron, Cybertron's got that war going on. So he's just constantly getting shot at. And we find out that Lynx is there because he received a communication from Wheeljack. And so the events of this issue, the beginning of it, takes place simultaneously with the ending parts of the last issue. So Wheeljack sends a message to Lynx and says, look, I need your help desperately. Our Autobot mission on Earth is in grave danger because of our commander. He's a chaotic leader, and so he tells them that. So in the last issue, where Wheeljack says to himself, I should probably help Blaster. Well, this is the help that he has put into place. He got Lynx out there. Now Lynx sees the Earth. And he's about to fly down to the Earth, and he gets a lock on the frequency of the Ark, just as the Ark is flying out in search of Blaster. So, the Ark's out in search of Blaster, and we've got Grimlock there, and he asks, why haven't they found them? And, Wheeljack tells him, hey, it was a very weak signal, and for that he gets choked out. Or not all the way out, but he gets choked for his trouble. And so Wheeljack has got to find that frequency so that they can find Blaster, who is traveling in Blast Off at this moment. He's traveling in Blast Off with the 4 kids. They're tumbling around in space, having their own little space camp, Decepticon-driven space camp, because Blast Off has that mode lock on that keeps him in shuttle mode, and it also allows Blaster to control him. And so, the kids are tumbling around, and Sammy, he gets his hand on the hatch, the airlock hatch, and Blaster tells him, hey, get away from that, and tells him that, Sammy, if you don't let go of that, you can get sucked out into space. And, well, hey, that's not a good thing. So, Blaster kind of gets ticked off at the kids. He's like, look, enough. I didn't bring you out here so I could play chauffeur all around the galaxy. I did it out of gratitude for you guys helping me, but I've got better things to do. And those better things are to make sure that there's Autobot leadership that is good Autobot leadership so that they can protect the humans of the Earth and stop the Decepticons. So, that's what they need to do. And he says, as long as Grimlock is the Autobot commander, we have no chance to stop the Decepticons. I must force him to step down. So Blaster's finally going to step up. Why no one stepped up to Grimlock at the time when they fought Trypticon is anybody's guess. They must have been so overwhelmed to be saved that they said, okay, well, Grimlock, you could be the leader. This is dumb, real dumb. I mean, the Autobots made some real dumb choices there. And so the kids then see the Ark, and the Ark starts firing at them, and there we get to the end of the last issue, and so we're now caught up. And here are the kids, they're trying to maneuver away from the, everything that's firing off at them. Grimlock is, flipping out. He's like, Blaster teamed up with the Decepticon, blast off. Blaster enemy, destroy him. And, Wheeljack is like, I'm trying, Commander. And, Wheeljack kind of second guesses Blaster, saying that, I didn't think he was a traitor, but here he is teaming with the Decepticon, so that, that's not good. And then Wheeljack's receiving a transmission from Skylynx. Skylynx asks, hey, do you want me to round up that Decepticon over there? Need help with that? And he's like, no, I don't need any help. And, Skylynx is a little impatient. He's like, I didn't travel across the galaxy just to sit around and do nothing. He's kind of ticked off with that. Back on Blastoff, Blaster tells them that, Blastoff can't outrace the Ark, so what he's going to do, he's going to give up. He's already programmed Blastoff to stop, and, my decision is final. And then Sammy, okay, just 10, panels ago, Blaster tells them that, Sammy, hey, if you open up the hatch, you're going to go flying out into space. Sammy opens up the hatch and tosses Blaster out into space. And somebody made a mistake there, the colorist or the editor or somebody, but it looks like Blaster got tossed out of Skylynx. I know they're both space shuttles, but come on, people, you got that wrong. He should have been thrown out of Blastoff, not out of Skylynx. So, Blaster is flying out through space. The kids then get grabbed by the Ark and get pulled in with Blastoff. So, they've got Blastoff there. All of the Dinobots have drawn their weapons. The kids come up and they're out and they're like, we surrender, we surrender. And Wheeljack protects them to make sure that, they don't get hurt. Meanwhile, Blaster is floating through space. How is he going to get to where he needs to go? He's not sure, but he sees a satellite. And he hops on the satellite, and he uses the satellite to maneuver himself around, to this dismay of people back on Earth who their TV just went out. And so he uses the satellite and kind of flies around. I guess what he says, he used the stabilizing rockets to take it out of its orbit. Okay. Back on the Ark, Wheeljack has taken these kids under his wing, and he is going to protect the kids, so he brings them through kind of a tour of the Ark, and as he's touring through the Ark, the kids, tell him that they're really, really cold, because, they're up in space, and I'm sure that this wasn't insulated specifically for humans, it's more for machines, and they're not going to get as cold as humans are. So Wheeljack tells them, please stand inside this machine, and the kids, they're like, you're going to vaporize us, they're afraid that Wheeljack's gonna kill them, and they don't know to trust him, and so he does not vaporize them. Instead, he puts them into a machine that can create spacesuits for the kids. So either this thing can create anything it wants, or they intended to have humans come with them at some point. There just doesn't seem to be any reason why there would be kid-sized or, human-sized for that matter, spacesuits, and ones that would give them their own environment. So they've got their own temperature control, and they've got like a 2-hour of oxygen. So if they get outside of the ship, they've got 2 hours of oxygen. And so, they say the suits are temperature regulated and have a 2-hour air supplies, then you'll need refills. And so they tell that. Then Slag comes down and tells him the commander wants to see the little slime squirts now. And so he brings them up, and Grimlock says, oh, don't worry, I'm sure Grimlock just wants to meet you. Even though Grimlock already did. I think Grimlock already did in the page before, wasn't he? Right there pointing his gun at them. No, he was not. I'm wrong. He was not there. It was the other Dinobots who were pointing their weapons at. So they bring him up to Grimlock, and there he is, King Grimlock, the commander. He's got his crown and he's got a throne, and he tells the kids that they work with the traitor, the traitor Blaster, and therefore therefore the traitors, and they must pay. And the kids tell him, Blaster saved our lives, so he gave us a ride in Blastoff as thanks, and then we helped him escape. And they ask, can we go home now? And he says, you helped the traitor, you must pay. He is Nothing if not crazy, just crazy. He just wants the respect of the rest of the Autobots at the expense of having any compassion or any leeway whatsoever. And he wants everything done. He only cares about results. He doesn't care if he has to kill any humans or anything like that. So what he says, the kids have been sentenced to death, and Wheeljack says, "But Commander, these are human children." And Wheeljack says, "Do you defy me? Do you defy Grimlock? Does anyone defy Grimlock?" And he yells, "They are guilty and they must die." And you kind of get this like one of those. It almost looks like a Jim Halpert look from The Office. For Wheeljack's like, okay. And so. Basically, they're going to carry out this sentence of death. And Snarl, one of the Dinobots, goes up to him and kind of whispers to him and says, "Look, Commander, is this wise? Many of the other Autobots have strong sympathies for humans." Now, it's funny because in a previous episode, they said that Snarl wasn't that bright. And he seems to be the one with the most insight of all the Dinobots at this point. And Grimlock says, I no intend to kill humans, but if Blaster saved them once, I bet he will try to save them again. So he's making a trap for Blaster. So they're on the Ark, and he's basically making these kids walk the plank. He gets them out there, and he had ordered Wheeljack down to the communications base. So Wheeljack sends a communication to Lynx and says, "I have some pieces of cargo I need you to pick up." And that would be these terrified children who are going to be tossed off of the spaceship out into space. So at the same time, when the kids are walking the plank, Blaster is making his way with the satellite up to the Ark. Lynx is turning around to get out there to pick up the cargo, and the kids, they're basically knocked off there, and Grimlock severs the line that was holding them in, and they're floating off into space. Lynx basically comes up and chomps them and pulls them in. Blaster's like, "Whoa, who is that?" And Grimlock is like, "Is that not Blaster? Into the Ark, everyone." He doesn't know who Lynx is, apparently. And so, he's got that dumb talk again. And he's getting more and more of that dumb talk. So the kids are now in Lynx. Blaster finally manages to get to the Ark. He ends up going to the thrusters, and he's climbing up the thrusters. The thrusters fire off, and, right while he gets in it. So, poor guy. He's not dead, but he's a bit scorched. The kids are now floating around inside Lynx. Lynx tells him who he is, and, that no, he's not eating them, and, now the Ark is chasing Lynx, and Lynx says, "We've got company," so he goes and heads right for an asteroid belt. So, because he's pretty maneuverable, and the Ark is not going to be able to follow them into the asteroid belt. So instead, the Dinobots jump out of the Ark and they chase after him. Meanwhile, we see the hand of Blaster, a little bit scorched, and he is climbing up onto the Ark, and Lynx lands on one of the asteroids, and he's now changing his form to his Lynx form, because he's going to be more maneuverable on the asteroid, so he can jump from asteroid to asteroid. Now Blaster's on the Ark, and he's going to get inside the Ark. Meanwhile, Lynx is basically making the Dinobots run ragged and running circles around him and knocking asteroids into him. Blaster then enters the Ark, and the guys are there. They're Blaster, and because they think that Grimlock is an idiot, and that Blaster, for one thing, they know that he's not He explains while he's not working with Blastoff, and he's not working with the Decepticons, and the reason that he's in trouble with with Grimlock is that he defied Grimlock's orders and he went to help the humans, and you know that's why he's in trouble with Grimlock. And so the guys tell him, stay aboard the Arc Blaster. This is where you're needed. And he does look out, and he sees that the Dinobots are chasing after Skylynx on the asteroids. Again, they're hopping from asteroid to asteroid, and Skylynx is knocking asteroids into the Dinobots. The Dinobots then, let's see. All right, the kids are, you know, like, go get them, Skylynx. They love Skylynx, you know, beating on the Dinobots, and then finally, I think it's Sledge who says, Dinobots, stop. He's too fast for us to attack. And then Grimlock says, we don't have to attack to win. Slag, listen. So he's got a plan. And the guys on the Ark, you know, they're talking. They talk to Blaster. He kind of explains everything. I thought he did in the other panels, but here they want to make him the boss. And he's like, I don't want to be the boss. You know, let's just do our job, and then we'll figure out who's in charge after that. So in the last panel here, so Skylynx gets surrounded by the Dinobots. The Dinobots have finally wised up. They surround him, and they're going to blast him. So Skylynx sends a message to Wheeljack. Says Wheeljack sends a message to Skylynx. No, sorry. Skylynx sends a message to Wheeljack. Says, temporary delay in your plans. I'm surrounded, but the dinos aren't making any moves. He says, you know, I can wait. And Wheeljack says, no, you can't. Those humans have a limited air supply. If you don't get here quickly and refill it, they're going to die. So remember that 2-hour air supply? Well, that's about done. Blaster starts heading for the door. Jetfire says, look, I will take a force out there against the Dinobots and we'll get them off of Skylynx's tail. And Blaster says, no, Jetfire, that could endanger the humans. I've allowed that to happen. If I allowed that to happen, then everything I just said would be meaningless, where he told all the Autobots that what they have to do is defend the Earth's, you know, most innocent and most vulnerable people, that children and the humans. So instead, he says, I only know of one way to guarantee their safety. And in that panel, you know, Blaster becomes my pick for leader. He goes out and he surrenders to the Dinobots. And that will allow Skylynx to bring the kids back into the Ark and refill their air and save them, which is great. So we have one more issue after this, issue number 37, and then we get into issues where the headmasters are coming. So the next issue that I'm going to show you is number 37, and then I'm going to do the 4-issue miniseries, The Headmasters. So then we can catch back up with regular issue number 38, where the headmasters then make their appearance into regular continuity. Anyway, this is Drew Bennett from Big Damn Kid. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as Big Damn Kid. You can find me on BigDamnKid.com, where I do a complete write-up of every one of the issues. You can also find me anywhere. Subscribe so you can see all the latest episodes, and I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a comment, and if you like it, that would help. Then I'll know to make more. Anyway, I appreciate it very much, and thanks for watching.